Oh boy. All right. What is up, Mets fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Mets'd podcast. I mean, did you expect to be this stressed out 6 games into the season when 3 of those are against the Miami Marlins? Because I
Nope.
sure as hell did not. Oh my God. That was like one of the most stressful series ever. I don't know what goes on with the Mets when they play in Miami specifically. When they play in Miami, chaos games happen. I was streaming on playback earlier, and we were talking about all the chaos games that happened in Miami. You had Wilfredo Tovar and Jake Hager starting in the middle infield for the Mets. Joe Neshwe Fargas inside the park home run. Jonathan Villar getting picked off a third base from Adam Simber in extra innings to lose the game. Like, things that the stuff that goes on in that ballpark's absolutely crazy. Bartolo Colon with the behind the back flip, I believe, was also there.
Miami, yeah.
The Mets played in the first game after Jose Fernandez died. Like,
D. Gordon home run.
Yeah, crazy things happen when the Mets are in Miami, and it happened once again. So we're going to talk about everything that went on in these 3 games this series, as well as just what's going on in the baseball world and the Mets world in general. If you guys are enjoying what you're listening to, watching over here, make sure you are subscribed to the Mets'd podcast YouTube channel. Remember, members, $2.99 a month, you get episodes early. So whenever we put them on YouTube, you'll get them a few hours early before they go out to the public. We appreciate everybody over there doing that. So subscribe if you want the free version. If you're listening to us, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, drop us a rating, drop us a review, download, and subscribe. Where do we want to start off, James? Because, I mean,
I think we got to just work backwards from the end of game 3 basically to get to the beginning of game 1, because this game on Wednesday afternoon, not even Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday evening, Wednesday at dusk, Wednesday starting afternoon, ending in the evening, it was a weird time to begin a game. It was a weird day to have a game. It was a weird game from start to finish. It kind of felt like 2 or 3 different games inside of the one game it actually was. I don't know, the whole time I was just like exasperated, just basically like pleading them to win. It's funny to have a game that felt so stressful early in the year, but it was kind of more about the vibe than what it actually meant for the team this season, because if they would have come home after losing 2-3 of the Marlins, like, would have been a way sour feeling in that ballpark on opening day. So thankfully they won, but just like weird defensive plays, weird at-bats, weird pitching situations. A.J. Minter fell down. Mark Vientos is frustrated. Like, Francisco Lindor still not hitting. Like, it was a win you don't even feel that good about. You're just really happy you got out of there with the actual win.
I mean, it was an exhausting game. It was absolutely exhausting to watch. The fact that the Mets were this close with the Marlins. I'll say this. We talked about the Marlins being terrible, and boy, they are. They are a really, really bad baseball team. Thank God, because the Mets played genuinely. Hopefully, we look back on this and say, wow, that's the worst performance play series that the Mets have all year. Because truthfully, outside of Pete Alonso, and I guess Brandon Nimmo, and the first game they did hit a little bit, but there was not a lot of guys that stepped up in this series at all.
I believe the Mets on this season, I saw a stat before. I think it was Howie talking about it during the broadcast, but by the end of this game, we're something like 7 or 8 for 43 with runners in scoring position. And I think Pete Alonso actually had 3 of those hits, half of them. And thankfully, again, it was such a deja vu moment to last year against the Tigers. I know it wasn't as serious, but just the fact that it seemed like nobody could do it except for him. And then entire at bat in the 7th or 8th inning, whenever that was against Calvin Fauché, it was the 8th inning. It was the 8th inning. It just felt like a cat and mouse game that deep in my heart, I knew Pete was going to win. I was walking home from a coffee shop doing some writing, and I had to switch the vibe mid game and like go from the TV to Howie in my ears. Once the Mets fell behind, so I'm like, I can't go down this road again. And I was on the radio on Monday, so I was like, all right, I go back to the radio, and I like sprinted up Mesrel Street in where I live in Brooklyn. I was just like freaking out, like pumping my fist, and then within 3 minutes of that, seemingly 2 minutes of that, whatever it was, Xavier Edwards on third base with nobody out. It all felt like it was going to fall apart again. It was just this back and forth. Pure chaos in series. I really couldn't believe was happening.
The texts from you were electric during that time because, of course, me and James are talking. I'm watching on TV, James hearing on the radio, so our timing's a little bit off. But he goes, just smacked the ball, Vientos. I think Vientos ended up walking, right? He walked in the run.
No, that was when he hit the chopper, the Edwards.
Xavier Edwards,
and made the misplay.
And then Acuna hits into the double play from the throw to home, throw to first. And you're, this is so bad. Getting 2 there fucking sucks. I go, mega. You then said, what the fuck? And that was Xavier Edwards being on third base.
No, like, you're mixing up the 2 innings. You're thinking of extra innings right now. Yes. I'm talking about the 8th inning.
Oh.
Because when Edwin came into that game in the 8th inning, I was like, tie game Edwin. He's going to find a way to blow this game. Especially seeing Edwards up first. Yeah. That was when I was texting you in the extra innings. Even just talk about those. The fact that we only got 2 runs, we loaded the bases with nobody out against whoever was the last pitcher in the game for the Marlins. I can't remember who it was.
Tony Phillips or something.
And then immediately Danny Young gives up a leadoff single to cut the lead from 2-1. I was like, "This is it. We're gonna find a way to blow this again." This could wind up being like not a backbreaking loss, but like an absolute horrifying loss. It was Avion Curry who they picked up off the scrap heap from the Guardians, but it's just
it was bad.
They've tried to find like 6 or 7 different times to blow this game and found a way to win. So I guess like the silver lining before we really get to the nitty gritty here is that that's kind of what good teams do. They find a way to beat bad teams. You find a way to win games you didn't deserve to win, and that's how you kind of wind up.
Saw the Dodgers do it.
Dodgers just did it in an amazing game on Thursday night that was covering for NBC Sports. If you guys want to check out the Roto World blurbs I wrote in this game, I decimated the Atlanta Braves in these blurbs. I spoke ill of them. Brian Snitker, Raisel Iglesias, the entire offense. It was Bryce Elder had a field day on those guys, but this is the game that if you hope to stack wins and be a playoff team at the end of the year, that you find a way not to lose. And thankfully, the Mets found a way not to lose.
Yeah, because I mean, it was not really a great start. Like Clay Holmes was not so good in this one.
Did go up 1-0.
Yeah, I mean, we did go up 1-0. Yes, because Pete's the man. Soto got on base. Pete drove him in, which that play was super close. Couldn't believe how close that play was with the ball to the wall. I guess Soto's just not really that fast, but we did get up to the early lead, and then Clay Holmes he was not sharp.
I mean, I'll talk on Clay Holmes for a second here. Like, this was like heading into this game, I was excited to watch Clay Holmes against the Marlins, which is that's not a sentence I ever would have thought I would have mothered 1 year ago from this day. If you had told me April 2024, you're like, you can't wait to watch Clay Holmes pitch against the Marlins, you'd be like, are you fucking crazy? But when he pitched that opening day game in Houston, the Astros right now have only one left-handed batter in the lineup. That's Yordan Alvarez. So a lot of the new things that Clay Holmes had to work on to turn himself into a starting pitcher over the last few months weren't really going to be tested. He didn't throw that many cutters. He didn't throw that many changeups. Those are the two pitches that he needs to get left-handed hitters out. He just didn't face any. So this left-handed heavy Marlins order, I was like, let's see what Clay Holmes can do. And then you see how careful he is with even a hitter like Kyle Stowers, who's he's in the lexicon of Major League Baseball. That's not exactly like a feared hitter. Like in terms of the Marlins line, but like, oh, this is the power lefty hitter. But like, he was nibbling against him. He was so careful. The command was very in and out. Overall, not efficient at all. And like some of the cutters were good, some were bad. Some of the changeups were really good. Some were nowhere close and uncompetitive. Like he didn't really miss any bats at all. I think it was just 6 swings and misses the entire game. But also the flip side of this is that his defense really let him down. The Mets for the first 7 innings of this game played one of the worst defensive games that I've ever seen a Mets team play, especially in the last year and a half, like a year and change in David Stearns era, just because Tyrone Taylor totally misread a fly ball in center field.
Never seen anybody misread a fly ball like that, where usually like a ball goes over your head, you misread it, a ball gets hit off the end of the bat, and it was much more in. Tyrone just kind of overran a ball, which I've never seen before. He took a bad route and then all of a sudden went, oh shit, and he wasn't even particularly close to it.
No, but it seems like one that he really could have caught easily if he saw it originally. I think that it's very weird. I mentioned before playing the Marlins this early in the season in Miami and the roof being open. I don't think a lot of these guys, even someone like Taylor, hasn't been met for a long time, have seen this roof ajar like it was. So I think it's very easy to lose it there.
Gelbs was out in the left center field like pavilion thing that's open over there, so they have the open windows as well in left field along with the open roof. And he was like, I gotta tell you, I've been out here for half an inning and the wind is sometimes blowing left, it's sometimes blowing right, it's sometimes blowing in, it's sometimes blowing up. He's like, there is no which way that this wind is blowing. He goes, so I can totally understand why, not just the Mets, because the Marlins outfielders too had some issues at points. So the wind, the roof being open was crazy. Also, screwed us from an offensive spot because Vientos early in the game hit a absolute shot that just got caught up in the wind and just seemingly hit an invisible wall. Yeah.
Even the one he hit on Tuesday night looked like he put a good ride into one and didn't get all of it. I think Pete hit one too that night. But then also in that same rough third inning for Holmes, Mark Vientos there was a full-on implosion in the beginning, the first half of this game between the at-bats. After that fly ball didn't go out, it seemed like he got very frustrated. There were 3 or 4 horrible defensive miscues, including the golden miscue in that inning where there was first and third, 1 out, and Clay Holmes got the ground ball right to Vientos. It wasn't hit terribly quickly, so it might have been a close play to go around the horn and get the double play, but it was early in the game. It's the Marlins. I think that at the time they were tied or would have been tied or would have been down 1 with that run scoring. He decides to wheel and fire home to Hayden Sanger, airmails it, not even remotely close, straight into the backstop. Run scores. The inning kind of Clay Holmes really bared down after they got back-to-back strikeouts. Vientos had another play a couple innings later where he fielded the ground ball that was very clearly spinning foul. He had that play with Xavier Edwards up against Diaz where he just dove for the ball against Xavier Edwards to slowly hit. I don't think they would have gotten him anyway if it got to Lindor, but it's just like it seemed like he got so in his head. And that play right there, trying to go home in the third inning against the Marlins in a one-run game, instead of just going for the double play, is like the clear epitome of like this guy right now needs to take a deep breath and is a little bit lost.
Yeah, a day off is going to do wonders, hopefully, for Mark Vientos' mental game, because after those errors, after that, we saw his at-bats were basically non-competitive until that extra inning. And even then in the extras, Xavier Edwards made an error. So it wasn't like he really even did anything. Xavier Edwards made a bad play because he's a bad defensive shortstop. But like Vientos, I feel for the guy because he's so miserably lost. He looks like a little kid out there on the field at times. It just looked like he was looking around like almost lost, like, where, like, what's happening? What's going on? And that's a guy who had so much confidence last year, and he's definitely at his best when he's swaggy V, when he's dripping in confidence, when he's got the testosterone going throughout the roof. But like this series in particular against the Marlins, he looked like a shell of himself. He looked like, honestly, like the 2022, 2023 Mark Vientos version.
And it was the kind of thing that gets worrisome because you saw with every mistake, it kept snowballing, like especially in the game on Tuesday where he didn't run out the ground ball. Like, I mean, you and I disagreed about that over text about what that meant, but it clearly weighed on him specifically. He felt like an asshole for not running out that ball. There was reports today that all three of Francisco Lindor, Antoine Richardson, and Carlos Mendoza had conversations about not running out the ball. He said something along the lines of that will never happen again. Yeah. He hit a lazy fly ball, the at-bat, after not running out the ground ball that was bobbled at third. He busted it out of the box. He was like midway between first and second. Mark Vientos is not a slow guy by the time the ball was caught in the outfield. But then he bobbled another ball late that game. He slammed his mouthpiece after flying out. Like, it was like you saw everything just snowballing, and he truly melted down. I was kind of
way too early in the season to be having meltdowns like that too.
Totally.
Like 5-6 games in, if you're feeling the pressure like that right now, I get concerned about how you're going to feel later in the year.
Alana, we love our pups dearly, and we want to shout out Spot and Tango for taking care of our pups with their unkibble. They are a game changer.
A game changer is right, Scott. And you know anything about me, you know that I love dogs and I want them to live forever. My own rescue pup, Bentley, is my passion, and she loves Spot and Tango. Thank goodness. It's 100% human grade ingredients, so you know exactly what your dog is getting. Oftentimes in other forms of dog food, you have no idea what's in it. It's a bunch of fillers. She loves it. It helps keep her healthy. It's perfectly customized for her age, her breed, her weight, and her level of activity. Makes me happy to give it to her.
And you don't have to go to the store. They'll deliver it right to your door. Spot and Tango is offering an exclusive deal for the FT network. For a limited time, go to spotandtango.com/Val. Use code FAL for 50% off your first order. That's spotandtango.com/Val, code FAL for 50% off your first order. One more time for the pups out there. Code FAL at spotandtango.com/Val.
Did you think that he should have had the day off on Wednesday after all that on Tuesday?
I think that if Jeff McNeil is on this roster, I think he would have the day off. But I think because right now it would be Beatty and Acuna basically playing third base and second base, I think that is a very, very scary thing for the Mets to do, even against the Marlins. And we saw that both those guys right now still are lacking from being those guys that can be like those players for this team right now. So I wouldn't have hated if Carlos Mendoza gave him the day off. I honestly thought that there was a chance that he could have. But also Vientos, Miami guy, Florida guy, he probably maybe thought that this could help get him right too.
Yeah, there was some fear to me that he was going to get the day off, which was just going to be like a nice regular day off. But then because of the drama with the not running it out, people have been like, oh, disciplinary day off for Mark Vientos. Yeah. But that also would have been incorrect. It seemed like that was just kind of handled, kept in-house in a very good, like, veteran team way. So I was like, good, get him back in the lineup, let him hit against Connor Gillespie, who I told you has a little stuff there. Tiny little bit of stuff.
The Mets, he has a slider that he has good command of. I'll give him good command on the slider.
Sure, we'll take that.
I don't think it's filthy. The fastball's 91, and he, to every right-handed hitter, away in the zone. Hey, guys, he's throwing away. He's going to throw the ball away every single time. Hey, Mark Vientos, that slider that you see on the outside corner is not going to be a strike. Stop swinging at it. Like, the Mets' game plan offensively in this game was horrible. They took bad at bat after bad at bat after bad at bat, unless your name was Pete Alonso and a little bit of Brandon Nimmo.
Yeah, basically, it's kind of it. But like with Vientos, there was some fear heading into the season that it was just a bit of a more fragile profile than his production would have indicated. Like, I'm definitely not out in any way, shape, or form on Mark Vientos, but when there's situations where we know he's a horrible fielder, and the way the Mets aligned this team, he was the bona fide everyday third baseman, not many chances to be a designated hitter.
Hate to say, with the fielding thing, you've been a big proponent of, like, guys, he's not a good fielder, and that's not to be a Mark Vientos hater by any means.
No, not
That's
at
just
all.
to keep people realistic. I'm starting to see people realize, oh yeah, maybe he wasn't that great of a third baseman last year, because we have stats and numbers. We don't just make this up as an anti-Mark Vientos podcast. We love him. Guy
Pro Mark
smoked the ball
Vientos.
last year. He was amazing. He was huge for this team in the playoffs. The Vientos playoff run will go down in history. But defensively, that was a glaring weakness in his game. We're seeing it now.
And then the fear is that the way the Mets align this roster, re-signing Jesse Winker and Pete Alonso, which are 2 winning moves, happy they did both of those things, you kind of box yourself in a corner where Vientos never has an opportunity to be a designated hitter. And that, again, if he's good enough defensively, it's not a bad thing. Or if he's able to do like what Daniel Murphy told us when we interviewed him last month, like be able to separate the two,
yeah,
that's fine too. But when he's taking the bad defensive plays into the field and
which he is,
bad defensive plays to the plate and the bad at-bats into the field and everything starts to spiral, then you're like, wow, I wish he could just even have a day off from fielding and focus on hitting, because we know that's what he does well. So it's only 6 games. It's not really a big deal in any way, shape, or form, but definitely a good moment for Mark Vientos to take a breath and just get up. Maybe not skip opening day. I feel like that would be harsh as well.
No, he's got to play. He's got to
play opening day. But if he has another very bad game opening day against Kevin Gausman, maybe Saturday just gets a day. Because a day would go a long way for Mark Vientos right now.
I'll tell you this, too. It might not be bad for Brett Brady to get some at-bats when he's playing third base, because I don't know what's going on with him at the plate right now, but there is a clear and obvious mental block that's going on with Brett Brady, because at the plate, this does not even remotely look like the guy that was in spring training. Once again, I know we've been fooled once, we've been fooled twice, and probably going to be fooled for a third time. But, man, Brett Brady looks really bad, and I don't really know how to fix it besides telling him to get more aggressive, because I can't see him down 0-1 every single time he gets to the plate like he seemingly is.
The funny thing about what's going on with Brett Baty right now is that he's, one, hitting the ball hard more consistently. There are only a few batted balls, but almost every single one's been hit hard. Right now, his bat speed at 77 miles an hour is up 3 miles an hour in last year, one of the hardest average swing speeds in the entire league. It just seems to be just something that's trapped. And the scary thing about Brett Baty is that pitchers are not afraid to throw him pitches in the strike zone.
Oh, not at all.
He's seeing right now through again, it's only been about 55, 60 pitches so far this season. Over 60% inside the strike zone.
That's
usually league average for that is under 50, of course, which makes a lot of sense. You'll see slightly less than half the pitches in the strike zone you see in the season. So pitchers are like, try and hit it, because every single time he does hit it, the ball is on the ground, as it's always been. So it's just, this is probably Brett Baty's last chance with the Mets. I think we're all pretty aware of that. It feels like he's doing a good job at second base, kind of better than I expected. And it's
got bailed out on that throw today by Luis Torrens, which
got major bailed out there by Luis Torrens. Shout out Luis Torrens for totally saving the day, coming in the game as a pinch hitter, then making 2 of the most quintessential plays that won us this entire game. That tag he made, spinning around his whole body, the whole plate on the Brett Baty throw was ridiculous. And then to throw him out
was unbelievable. Off his knee. With was that Edwin on the mound? That was Edwin, right?
That was Edwin and Griffin Conant running. Because they were like, we're going to steal every base on Edwin that you'll let us have.
And he threw him out from his knee, and he threw a fucking seed perfectly to
amazing
Brett Baty at the time,
that was
right?
Still Baty, yeah. That was still Baty.
And tagged him out, and he was out by a foot. I was like, oh my god, this guy's a legitimate weapon behind the plate.
It was just we've been 15 to almost 20 minutes talking about this one game, but this was such a chaotic April game that AJ Minter fell down on the mound and got a balk. Like it was,
and the Mets tried to argue that it was a pitch, and I was like, no, we don't. The balk's okay. He was going to take third. Let's not have another ball on the count there.
Yeah, it's just I just really couldn't believe what I was like watching, seeing, and hearing during this entire game. Again, happy they won, but I'm not saying I hope this series was like a wake-up call, but just like there should be some feelings of like, oh, like a nice exhale. They got out of Miami winning 2 out of 3 of these games.
Yeah, I was fully prepared to come on. I texted you. I'm like, I might have to yell today and be like, wake up. Because like losing to, again, if you've watched this Marlins team play, they are fucking terrible. This is one of the most disgraceful baseball rosters I've ever seen grace this earth in my time being here on 29 years. Like it is a joke of a roster. They have some interesting guys in the bullpen, not going to lie. A little bit surprised. Anthony Veneziano's got a little juice, that lefty. But, oh my God, at the plate, it's just like, who? Where? What's going on? And it's unfair to Clayton McCullough because he doesn't have a lot to work with. But some of the decision-making's crazy there, too. Like, there is no excuse to losing to the Marlins. The Mets game that they did lose, at least it was because Sandy Alcantara pitched, and he is one of the
only one to lose.
He's one of the 30 best pitchers in baseball without a doubt. But every other game, you should be not just beating the Marlins, you should be pounding them. The Mets played again what could be the worst game they play all year. That was so atrociously bad from a plate discipline standpoint, from a defensive standpoint,
Situational hitting.
situational hit, everything was horrible in that game, and they won. That's crazy.
There were, again, I want to put this game to bed so we can at least move on and talk
Yes,
about other
yeah.
things, but there were those extra innings. When they went the first extra inning, didn't score a run, I was like, this literally can't
Couldn't
be
believe
happening
it.
right
First
now.
and third, nobody out.
Leadoff single, didn't score, and I think it was a bloop. I wasn't expecting him to score, but I was just like, how can this be happening? And then it's also hurt so much worse going into this game because on Monday when the Mets played, they did exactly what to the Marlins that you expect them to do with the Marlins.
Yep.
They hit the piss out of the ball. Marte home run, Alonso grand slam, Nimmo home run. Like the ball was flying out of the yard left and right. You're like, okay, breathe a sigh of relief. Like, we're going to get a nice, casual, easygoing series against the Marlins where we put up 30 runs and feel really, really nice. But just it didn't continue, and you're like, that was kind of the frustrating part of this too.
Yeah, they scored the most runs in the game when Francisco Lindor didn't play. Go figure. And he's just
Yeah.
been, he's generationally cold right now. I mean, you might get an iceberg touching him. It's crazy.
I feel like someone just has to kind of put Francisco Lindor has to go into like a hyperbaric chamber, like take a really nice sleep.
I was saying put him in a medically induced coma so that he's like able to come out. We can wake him up.
But only
and
for 20 minutes.
Yeah, 20 minutes and like scared straight wake him up. Be like, it's July. Are you ready? Oh my God. Yeah.
It's just July 11th. You slept for 3 months.
You didn't make the All-Star team again. And he's like, oh my God, I'm ready to go. Like,
You can see again, like I'm never gonna chastise Francisco Lindor because I know exactly what's gonna be like at the end of the year. But it would be nice if you had a couple more hits right now.
could you imagine the season he would have if he was good in April? If he was league average in April, the guy would legitimately be so close to winning an MVP.
He'd be a 10-WAR player. Again, it's fine. Don't care.
Love him.
And also,
yeah, he's gonna be okay.
Congratulations to the Lindors. Congratulations for Francisco having his first son. Congratulations to Katia. Like, amazing. Everything's really good there. I want to talk a little bit about David Peterson, though, from Monday's game as well, because he's kind of been the not forgotten man, but just kind of keeps sneaking through with all of this stuff. You were on him. Our guy, Nick Pollock, who you guys love that interview so much, he was saying that he'd probably he's the Mets' best pitcher. We saw him dismantle this horrible Marlins lineup on Monday. Dismantle them. And it was all led by his slider, which had the second most whiffs it's ever gotten in one start in his entire career, with 6, tied for the second most. That 5 whiffs through the first 3 innings, and every single time he threw it, he buried it perfectly on the back foot of a very right-handed. I think 8 right-handed batters in that lineup for the Marlins on Monday. Just every single time, bang, bang, bang. Tons of changeups as well, and he was dotting those sinkers and fastballs. Like, he mixed all 4 of the pitches with just enough get me over curveballs so well, and that was like a taste of against the Marlins, we don't want to really take anything like super as bond against
spring training.
Basically. And also, again, I said it before, I'll say it again. Why do we have to start the season with the 2 teams who played against all of spring training? That is so annoying for me. The only team that's actually seen these guys, like, all right, here you go, get them again. Like, it pisses me off. But really, really nice to see Peterson go out and truly dominate that Marlins lineup on Monday.
Yeah, no, he was great. And
9 strikeouts, 6 innings.
He was just in control the entire time, which
Easy.
is something that I don't even think even a year ago you'd say about David Peterson. Last April, you'd never be like, David Peterson was in good control of that game. Like, I feel like a big thing for Peterson has been those shutdown innings. And after the Mets put up those runs, for him to just come out and just dominate the Marlins again, I was like, oh yeah, this is David Peterson. This is the David Peterson experience.
And all 9 of the Mets stars that day had a hit, 4 home runs, like he said before. Like, Pete kind of setting the tone for him always having great series in Miami. We were texting on the side about how pissed we were that Starling Marte was hitting leadoff. All he did was hit a home run and score another run, just have a great game. He's actually someone who's hitting the ball pretty well right now. So again, we're definitely not right all the time. But then Tuesday's game, another very interesting one, just because it was Lindor's first game back, and he made 2 horrible errors. Plays that Francisco Lindor makes 999 times out of 1,000, which is not true because he made 2 of those horrible ones. But like, as he always does after the game, he went right to the media. He was like, "This loss is my fault."
He was upset. Yeah,
he was like, "The team played a clean game except for my 2 ground balls. I went up to Senga and apologized for them because, especially the second error, it kind of opened the door for the Mets to finally get through and lose that game." And it was like that, plus the Vientos situation. It was just that was something where I wish a team that's as good as this Mets roster is and as like comfortable and how good they were last year didn't show that level of frustration this early in the season. But it just seemed like they were a little bit tight. But also, you kind of get tight when you face a guy like Sandy Alcantara. He's just a tremendous pitcher. That's kind of what happens.
I thought the weirdest thing from this game, but we'll talk about Sang in a second, but was how afterwards Mike Puma asked Lindor and Soto and like everybody on the Mets, would you be happy if the Mets trade for Sandy Alcantara? And they're like, yeah. Like, he's one of the best pitchers in baseball? Like, what the fuck is that question? Be a better journalist, please.
Yeah, I was saving that for the media marvel. But I got a couple other ones we'll get to later in the show. Yeah. But strange that he went up to all of the Latin players and was like, "You guys want Sandy Alcantara?"
So
and they
weird.
were all like, Yeah, like it kind of is weird to me that they were so open about it, saying, yeah, even a comment that Lindor made saying that that would be like the pitching equivalent of acquiring Juan Soto.
Yeah, that was crazy. Yeah.
I don't think that's true. I think that was a weird thing for him
It's
to
very
say as well.
false.
But like for Puma to say that, ask them that, I was like, what? I was like, also they're pitching well. They just didn't. They're not hitting. I mean, again, not that that means anything. It's only a couple games in the season, but just strange for them to be like, you want to trade for this guy? Like I've never heard players on a team openly talking about a player on another team under contract
Never.
this early in the season saying that you would like your team to
Game
trade
5?
for him. April 1st. Maybe it's April Fool's Day thing for Mike Puma, but I was absolutely stunned by those comments and the fact that he was even just asking that question.
No, it was insane. All right, let's talk about Senga now because that's another big thing to talk about here. Me and you were both when we were texting. You were a little scared.
I was scared.
I was a little uncomfortable. I shouldn't say scared, but I think he was okay. I think he was completely fine. I think a lot of people online are boosting it up a little more than it should be, and I hate to be Debbie Downer here. I feel like I've seen a lot of people like, what a great start from Kodai Senga. This was fantastic. He's back. Where I think it's more of like, okay, like he is going to be a very, very useful pitcher. We know that. Still need to see more. Still haven't seen the things that make me think he could get exactly to where he was in 22 just yet.
I think it'd be a fool's errand to expect this to be exactly like 2023 all over again. Like that was an incredible run by a starting pitcher. One that he went like 15 consecutive starts where he didn't allow more than 3 runs. Like it was special what he did in the second half of that season. But I will say, especially after that first inning where the command was gone, there were too many pitches in the heart of the plate. He had no feel for the spin. He had no feel for anything. The forkball was uncompetitive at first. He leveled out so nicely. And to me, it felt like he didn't really trust his body at the beginning of that game.
No.
He was like kind of tepid about the way he was going about his pitches and his pitch selection, his sequencing, and even his velocity. The hardest fastball he threw of the entire game, 97, his last one. I mean, I just mixed up all my words, but his last fastball was the hardest he threw the whole game.
Well,
the
so
whole last
funny
inning, they got harder.
Yeah, because I actually really like how you said that. And I haven't seen anybody say that online, so tip your cap to the little James Shiano right there, Mets'd up exclusive.
Always the pitching stuff.
Guy doesn't miss. He's the pitching whisperer. But that's a really good way to see it. It almost seemed like he was a little bit cautious about pushing himself and being maybe he was worried about getting gassed out early because he hasn't thrown a lot of pitches, or maybe he just isn't as comfortable. Like injuries are big. Injuries are scary for players. I don't think the mental side of that stuff gets talked about enough of coming back from these major injuries. So maybe for a guy like Kodai, he was a little bit concerned. He was scared of what could happen. But at the end of the game, you're right. He really did start to loosen up. And that's when you were like, oh shit, there's that fastball 96, 97. There's that ghost fork, the cutter. Like everything was starting to work at the end. And they pulled him at the right time too, which was good.
Yeah, it felt like he was holding back. And that kind of plays into everything that was going on this spring training. Everything we heard, the conversation with Tim Healy, that this was kind of more about Kodai being careful. And this probably does go back to his injury at the start of last season, where it was that shoulder capsule injury that we talked about. Yeah. And apparently if that capsule bursts, that becomes something that's very serious and something that Kodai, who, again, we heard from Tim Healy, has dealt with shoulder and elbow issues since he was a teenager. Yeah. That's probably the fear, is like a full blowout. And it was cool that as the game went on, he got significantly more comfortable. Like I was honestly legitimately very encouraged by the end of this one. The strikeouts were there, the swings and misses were there. After that first inning, there was really no touching him at all.
First inning and third inning when they give up the run. I know it was off
but then it was the
errors, but like he was getting pieced a little bit in the fourth, I think.
A little, not really. Scrolling back to that inning right now, like that the error was hit pretty hard. And there was one other ball hit kind of hard, that double, and he got that was it. Yeah. It was like it didn't feel he struck out everybody and that inning after that. Like it just didn't feel like there was. I don't know. It didn't, to me, there was not really a moment of concern besides an error that was made. Where if that error is made, those runs don't happen after that. And it was totally okay.
I definitely didn't feel concerned watching Kodai Senga. I wasn't in the. I think it's also too like my mind was like it's the Marlins, take everything with a grain of salt as well.
Totally, and a nice call out here from our guy, friend of the pod, Isaac Groffman, pitching savant, rising star. He's been putting out these really cool graphics on Twitter showing pitchers sequencing and how often they're going to certain pitches and certain counts. And I really like that he's doing that because I feel like that is one of the most untold stories of pitchers' starts. And I think he's doing a good job trying to put those into graphics. You guys can see readily available. They're posted every single game in the Mets members group. But this is also something that what kind of made Kodai what he was in 2023. This was like one of my first real Twitter threads that I wrote, and it was like right when he had that first big start against the Rays. We struck out like 10 or something. That was the first time where it clicked through, like, oh, this guy's different.
Oh, shit.
That was because that first month and a half of Kodai, even after he got the cutter, every single at bat, it was fastball, cutter, ghost fork, fastball, cutter, ghost fork. Got really, really repetitive because I think he only kind of had those few different avenues to go. But then he clicked and he started to mix up his sequencing more. He started to kind of not allow hitters to know what they were getting, whatever count. That's what changed him forever. When he was sneaking 2-strike fastballs, when he was starting people off with sweepers and cutters, when he was doing the 1-strike forkball and they were swinging through because they were expecting a fastball in the zone. That's when Kodai's at his best, because at the end of the day, it's one super mega elite pitch. It's one of the best pitches in the league, the ghost fork. But the rest of the repertoire, especially when he's sitting 94, 95 instead of 96, 97, is honestly pretty pedestrian. But the way you get by with one amazing pitch and a pedestrian repertoire is not let the hitters know what's coming. And once he figured out his command, and once he got comfortable, once he got loose, that's exactly what he did. And that's when the Marlins looked clueless at the plate for those final few innings of the game.
Yeah, no, he definitely settled in really nicely, and it's something that I think his next start is also against the Marlins, right?
It is. I think schedules, because they come to Citi Field after the Blue Jays.
So
leave.
he'll be pitching there in Citi Field against the Marlins. See how they adjust as well to him too, just to see how they do that. Which is not much adjustment because the team's pretty horrible, but yeah,
no, definitely not. I think that's. Do you have anything else from these 3 games? I think that was all.
I got one more thing from this. Well, two more things.
Please.
Negative or positive first?
Negative first, positive after.
Okay. Almost jinxed Otto Lopez. Almost did it. He hit the home run, which if you saw his swing, you're like, this guy how is he hitting 350 right now? Early in the season. His swing's crazy bad. But at the end of the game in game 3, when he came up to the plate against Huáscar Brazoban, I was live on stream. I was like, oh my God. I was like, this is the guy that I singled out of the lineup and said, can't hit a fucking lick. This guy stinks. Attack. I'm like, he might win the game. He had a pretty decent series.
That's also funny because Lopez, again, in terms of this entire team, some bad players. I'm not telling you Otto Lopez is a world beater by any means, but in terms of someone that can actually be on a major league roster that's not the Marlins, he is one of the few guys I think can do that. He's a really good defensive second baseman. He runs well, and he's just one of those, he puts the bat in the ball guys. Like, he doesn't really swing and miss very often. So sometimes you just kind of put a ride into when you do it, and he's doing that early this season. Definitely not buying into the Otto Lopez breakout. No. In terms of players on this team that might be able to catch on a major league roster after this whole Marlins Titanic sinks. Yeah, he's what I'd call a good little ball player. He's someone that can be on a roster. That's what he is. Now give me the positive thing.
Max Kranick is so good.
I forgot about Kranick.
He's incredible. So good. He's so damn good. You watch a picture, you're like, holy shit.
That was the whole thing that we were talking about. A lot of people on social media brought this up. My guy Mikey, MJD Analysis, Jared Seiler, Baseball Perspectives. The fact that he has this sweeper and cutter with ride, like with lift, like this basically a rising slider. He somehow does this because he throws that pitch and like, what the fuck was that? Like, you kind of jolt back when you're watching on television. And so massive that he was able to come in after Senga, or someone came in between them, I believe. I can't remember right now. No, it was just Kranick after Senga for the 3 innings.
And then Danny Young.
No, that was Monday. It was Senga then Kranick for 3 because he threw 3 innings, 22 pitches, got the 1 strikeout, and he saved this entire bullpen that we needed literally every single guy for the game on Wednesday. And
and it took Budo going multiple innings, it took Reed Garrett going multiple innings. Like, we need to stretch out a couple guys as well. So shout out Max Kranick for not only being a dog in game 2, but saving us for game 3.
Which was the exact thing that we talked about when the roster was coming out right at the end of spring training, where like Kranick's role in this team early is going to be really valuable because we don't know how much length we're getting out of any of these starters between Senga, between Holmes. I mean, McGill and Canning. Let's see what they got against Toronto here. But him being able to come in and kill multiple innings has saved the bullpen already twice this season. And like we probably don't win the game Wednesday if Kranick doesn't pitch 3 smooth ass innings on Tuesday, and that he is.
Tell you right now, there's no shot. You wouldn't be able to bring out Diaz in the 8th inning. You'd have to wait.
Which is crazy too, but top of the line. So I see the vision. It was just we got the whole point of this is you got 26 guys pulling the same direction. Luis Torrens didn't start the game on Wednesday. He became one of the most key players. Like Max Kranick's 3 innings on Tuesday set up the whole, like it's very cool right now. This was always a mainstay of David Stern's Brewers teams where it's like no weak link. Like every single person here contributing. Hayden Sanger, shout out him, first major league hit.
Oh, great
also
piece
caught
to
a great
right
game.
field.
Fantastic. Couple Clay Holmes balls in the dirt that he blocked up really well. Like it was all 26 guys in this series did something to help this team win. And that's how you win a series like this that you don't deserve to win.
Yeah, no, I think, the Mets are the better team. And luckily the cream rise to the top there, right?
Hey.
That's how you say it. Did I get that saying right?
Yeah, I think you got that one right. Cream rise to the top.
I know. Sometimes I said the saying is wrong. But end of the day, they just got to be better. can't play like this against Toronto.
No.
Toronto stinks too, but they'll beat the doors off of us if we play like this.
Toronto stinks, though. They stink like a 77 win team. The Marlins stink like a 45 win team. There's
Correct,
a huge gap in those 30 wins over the course of a season.
Yeah, the Marlins are legitimate garbage, where the Blue Jays are like, did you shower? Like, you're just a little smelly. Like, something's not right.
The Blue Jays are like, they're fine. I mean, the Blue Jays can, again, if you blink 3 times, the Blue Jays sneak into a wild card spot in a horrible American League, you won't be shocked. If the Marlins sneak into a wild card spot, it would be national news.
It would be like Leicester winning the Premier League. Like,
that's where my brain went to. It's the same thing. But one more thing before we move on to a couple more media marvels I want to talk about. Wednesday was the anniversary of Gil Hodges passing away. That's a sad thing. He's one of the most influential members in the history of the Mets organization. And I also think a lot of people, because of how much Gil did after his playing career with the Mets, a lot of people forget how much of a monster he was when he was a player. Multiple Gold Glove winner. He retired. I didn't even know this. Howie mentioned this during the game. He retired as a National League leader all time for home runs by a right-handed hitter.
Do you really?
Willie Mays, I think, got him like months afterwards. But when he retired, Howie said he broke Ralph Connor's record by exactly 1 home run for National League. This is like the Aaron Judge thing for a couple years ago, the American League home run record.
Yeah.
But when he retired, Gil Hodges, all-time home run record for a right-handed batter in the National League.
I had no idea.
Legend.
They killed Gil Hodges.
Nailed it. But I want to do 2 more media marvels before we preview the Blue Jay series. And one's going to be more of me versus you, and the one was going to be you and us dunking on our favorite media marvel of all time, and it's, of course, Sal Licata.
We also have to do one media marvel on ourselves. Boomer Esiason is a big Mets fan.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I botched that. I think it was because I just always equated him as such a big Rangers fan with the Yankees. So I think that I would just kind of do that in my head, even though I'm a Rangers fan, which is funny. But got to talk about Sal Licata. I think part of this is like a game that we know, which is like really exaggerating things for YouTube titles and thumbnails. But Sal Licata put out a thumbnail a couple days ago where the whole thing was about how horrible Pete Alonso was, that he just basically sucks.
Yeah.
And I literally saw it and I was like, this just simply can't be a real thing. Like, how on earth can they be chastising Pete Alonso? Where in the Astros series, 1, looked tremendous.
Awesome. Amazing.
And 2, why are you making fun of a hitter before they head to Miami? That's no time to make fun of Pete Alonso before he heads to Miami that he owns. So it's just ridiculous that these guys are still jumping on Pete Alonso after all this time.
Yeah, I think he said something along the lines of, he's not a guy that I want hitting after Soto. Soto needs protection, which again, we once know that guys hitting after the batters are actually not nearly as important as guys in front of them. Technically, Soto has actually had no protection in front of him because nobody's been on base.
Lindor isn't getting on base.
Lindor has gotten on base, I think, once or twice this season.
I think 3 now.
Yeah, so like he's actually technically had no protection. And Pete's at-bats, again, even in this game, every single game, have been out of control good. Keith has even taken notice now where he's like, man, Pete's just not chasing. He's looking for one spot. He has a plan up there at the plate. He's taking the ball where it's pitched. Like, these are all things that made Pete Alonso so great when he came up. Was he had the plate discipline? Was he wasn't chasing? How many sliders have been thrown low and away to Pete that he's just spit on? Some of them have been called strikes, but he's like, I'm not swinging at it. I have 0. I have 1. I don't need to swing at this pitch. His at-bats have been so great. So for the big, dumb ball, well, he's not big. He's actually small. He's a small guy. That small, dumb, yeah, he's tiny. That small, dumb, bald idiot over on WFAN, Sal Licata. You got to get a new shtick, man. Like, you claim to be a Mets fan, and then you say this stupid shit. It doesn't make any sense. I genuinely, like, I get it. Radio has to do the hot take bullshit to get their clicks, to get their views. I'm all about chasing the numbers. There's got to be a better way than making yourself purposefully look like an absolute moron day in and day out. There has to be. And if there's not, you're not meant for this job.
And again, this is throwing stones in a glass house, because we, from time to time, and you guys that call us out, and always, like, we will really exaggerate the YouTube title and thumbnail. But what's going on right now? Because WFAN is really making a push towards YouTube, and these
I'm not
videos,
gonna lie, they're not doing a bad job.
No, they are doing a good job. But it's because they will come out with a video that says Pete Alonso, the Mets' biggest problem, and the thumbnail is Alonso exposed, yes, with an arrow pointing to Pete Alonso, and then the next one was full meltdown, and it was pointing at Francisco Lindor. And then the next one was disaster for Mets, and it was the word crisis with an arrow pointing to Sean Manaea, which is like, we didn't even talk about the fact that Sean Manaea set back, that he's not going to be back until June.
Whatever.
Sorry, that stinks, but I don't know.
It sucks. I wish Sean Manaea was here, but James told you so. And
I have to say it, and it's also not the end of the world. It's not
really
the end of the world.
The pitching has been so good.
It is, but like the medium over right now, stones in the glass house, I get it. WFAN. Whoever's doing graphics, dude got talent. You got
crushing it.
someone legit making these thumbnails for you guys.
And
But
the titles are working with the like you guys
Yeah,
are
no, it's
good in
good.
the
It's
clickbait
good.
game. But
They're doing well.
surely they have to be able to make good content and not just rage bait. Because and listen, I'm a rage baiter too over on Twitter. I love it. I love putting out a tweet saying like Luis Torrens is the best catcher in baseball, things like that. But that's like, you have to be so stupid to fall for that. Is that really rage bait when you're getting the idiots? Saying things like Pete Alonso sucks. You're just trying to incite hate. And also, he's on the team you root for. Why would you even want to put that out there? I don't get it.
And it's April. It was still March when they made that video.
It was game 4. They'd played 4 games.
And he looked good.
3, yeah.
If he was playing like shit, sure, I get it. But it pisses me off that shtick over and over again. I know that's the goal. I know that's what they're going for. But again, I just can't see that and turn away from it.
I mean, it's hokey. It's hokey, and you're a hack when you do that kind of stuff. All right, what's your next media marvel that you said me and you are going to go at?
The next media marvel is from Jonathan Lucroy. So we're going full baseball here for a second.
Whoa, okay.
And that was because was it Sunday? Was it Saturday? I don't remember exactly now. But Roki Sasaki had another very bad start for the Dodgers. Which, again, if you guys are paying attention to my fantasy baseball content, James Shiano on YouTube, or reading me on Roto World, I warned this as well. He was my biggest bust of the season. I didn't see someone who's going to walk in as ready-made. I told you guys this in November. But someone still with massive potential who's probably going to be a star down the line. Has all the stuff in the world. After he came out of the game, he was clearly very affected by how poorly he pitched. And the Japanese broadcast of that Dodgers-Tigers game caught a shot of him very teary-eyed sitting on the rail.
He was crying.
There weren't tears streaming down his face, but it looked like he was someone that was being overcome by some very sad emotions. And then Jonathan Lucroy, who is desperately trying to stay relevant right now, doing anything he can as someone who had 3 or 4 pretty good years, and now is just becoming a horrible person on Twitter to even pass through your timeline any time he does. He said about Sasaki, I hope a vet pulled him aside and told him to man up. No one has time for a kid crying on national TV in one of the biggest sports markets in the world. You don't like it? Play better next time. He should be pissed and ready to go bury someone versus whatever this is. I'll say 2 things about this. Actually, I'll say 3 things about this. 1, Jonathan Lucroy, just get out of here, dude. This is not your place to do this. It's also not your place to be like, hope a vet pulled him aside. Because that's another problem with this too. A vet probably should have pulled him aside. Someone like Shohei Ohtani or Yoshinobu Yamamoto, or even anybody, Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, Will Smith. Someone should have grabbed Roki Sasaki and been like, hey, dude, it's all right. No big deal. 2, this probably really sucks for Sasaki. He's probably never faced a second of resistance in his baseball life since he was a teenager and billed as a phenom from the time he picked up a ball in high school. He's on a different side of the world right now. He's away from his family and friends for all these people for the first time in his life. He doesn't speak the language, and he's been sucking as someone who's getting this crazy, not even national, worldwide appeal right now. 2 countries are talking about Roki Sasaki all the time. So that's really hard. And the third thing I want to say about you specifically and any other Met fan that might have dunked on Roki Sasaki.
I did not dunk on him publicly.
You didn't. Yeah, no, you're not publicly. But you told me in chat, you were like, yeah, maybe Lucroy has a point. I'm telling you right now, you're a dick for saying that, because I remember years ago that there was a young right-handed pitcher of the New York Mets with bushy hair, and he got bombed for a second straight start, and he was fucking crying in the dugout. And he is someone that was notably, ostentatibly, bit of a jerk, bit of a hard ass, probably someone who aligns more with Jonathan Lucroy. It was Jacob deGrom. Oh. And Terry Collins goes next to him, puts his arm around him, and then bang.
He didn't cry, though.
He did. Have you ever seen the video? He's tears all over his face.
No.
Go look at the video right now.
He wasn't crying.
Go look at the video of Jacob deGrom and Terry Collins.
I thought he was consoling him.
You could see literal wet leg moisture on Jacob deGrom's eyes right here, underneath his eyes, on the brim of his nose. Watch the video right now.
I'm looking at it now.
The woman who does the podcast with Darren tweeted the other day.
Dude, I think that's sweat, man. He was pitching in Texas outdoors in the summer. I always thought sweat.
I always thought he cried.
I'll tell you what. It does look like tears. Like, it looks like
he may have cried.
But I don't. Jacob deGrom, like, the conversation looks like he's upset, definitely upset, needed consoling. Terry Collins consoled him because he's a G. Love Terry. But
Terry.
I don't think these were
where's Dave Roberts for Roki here?
I think he was sweating a lot. Like, this is, I'm looking at the date when this
video
was
How much do you ever sweat under your eyes? What are you doing?
You're June 7th in Texas, in Arlington. It was
You're sweating under your eyes?
Have you pitched in 110-degree weather?
No, but I don't know. I don't know if you're sweating under your eyes.
Look up the weather, June 7th, 2017. No, I mean, that wasn't what it was, but it was, I don't have the official date. Regardless.
Wait a second. Wasn't Globe Life Field the furthest stadium before the new stadium? Was that an indoor stadium?
No, that was outdoor.
Oh, it was outdoor. Yeah,
it was chaos that they had that as an outdoor stadium. The ball in the summer would fly like crazy. I stand by the point that, listen, he is going through tough stuff, and I feel for Roki Sasaki. There is an immense amount of pressure that is unnecessary for him on a team that's loaded with pitching and should win the World Series with or without him. They just did.
Yeah.
I think there's an immense amount of pressure put on. That being said, you can't cry in the dugout. You can't do it.
Still a bad look. Definitely, maybe
Can't
don't
do
even, or just don't sit on the rail. Cry in the bench.
Yeah,
cry in the tunnel.
Go into the tunnel. Like whatever it is, can't be on the dugout looking like that. I think there is something in me that will agree with Lucroy in that mentally, I think as a teammate, as an opponent, as a competitor, I do look at Roki Sasaki differently now, knowing that he cried because he struggled.
Did you look at Caleb Williams differently when he cried after that
For
Notre Dame game?
$1,000,000% looked at Caleb Williams differently. And what do you know? The Bears stunk.
That's true.
Not
Not
like
a bad
my
point,
king, Jaden Daniels.
It's very different. I don't know, especially a guy like Lucroy just jumping on him. It's like, come on, dude.
Yeah, no, I mean,
like
listen, I'm fine with the Lucroy hate. I'm not gonna.
You never had an eighth, a hundredth of the talent that Roki Sasaki has. Like maybe he's gonna cry. Maybe he winds up crying as rookie and then having an incredible baseball career.
Yeah, we can look back on this. The only crying I'll allow on the baseball field, Wilmer Flores. We never slander that man.
It's true. He did cry on the baseball field too. But I'll stand by. I thought that DeGrom cried on that night in June against the Rangers.
Yeah,
I'll stand by that.
I don't think he did. But anyways, Roki can't cry. He's got to toughen up. He's also, we keep calling him a kid. He's 23.
He's 23. I mean,
He's 23.
What were you doing 23?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
I guess I guess.
He's doing all right.
It's not that untrue, but an immature man, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, still immature to this day. All right, let's go ahead and preview the home opener series up against the Toronto Blue Jays. You guys are in for a good one. 45 minutes of just ball talk. I've missed this.
It's crazy.
We're
going real deep on this one.
We're sick in the head. We're like, oh, record at midnight? Yeah, we'll run this one till 1:30. What do we got for the pitching matchups for the home opener?
Pitching matchups, home opener. Mark and I will both be there. I'm incredibly excited. If you guys are going, hit us up on Twitter, hit us up on Instagram, hit us up in our Discord if you guys are in there. But we'd love to just meet a bunch of you guys. We're going to probably make a TikTok or two. So if you guys want to get in on that, hit us up as well. But home opener, 3:10, another strange start time, going to be some shadows, going to be a weird game. Tyler McGill versus Kevin Gausman. The ace that is versus the ace that was. That's something very excited for that. Not an ace off yet. There was one ace off in this series. I'll get to that. Saturday, 7:10. Griffin Canning versus Chris Bassett. It'll be an interesting welcome home for Chris Bassett. I think some Mets fans don't think very highly of him after his last two starts with the team. I still think he pitched really well that year.
Do they clap or boo?
I think it'll be a mix. I think it'll be like an 80-20 clap over boo.
What do you think the fans are that boo him? Where do you think they're from? Where do you think?
Staten Island, Long Island, right there, bang. And all their names are Joe, Massapequa, and Tottenville. But then 1:40 on Sunday. This is the ace-off. David Peterson versus Bowden Francis.
That is an ace-off right there.
The serious ace-off.
Bowden Francis, who was throwing a nice no-hitter against the Mets until he wasn't. And then Francisco Lindor decided, I'm that guy.
One of the games that really made last season start to feel special. But tell the people about the Blue Jays for a couple minutes. I know you have strong opinions on them.
Yeah, I mean, I think they stink. You heard it earlier. I think they're horrible. I don't know how Andres Jimenez is doing it, but I will find out, and I will fix that. There's no way that I'll allow Andres Jimenez to continue to have an 1,100 OPS on the season. He's got 3 home runs. Get the fuck out of here, Andres Jimenez. There's no way.
I think last year his third homer, I saw a tweet in like June or July of last season.
Bo Bichette's a singles merchant. No, I'm not going to say too many horrible things. Besides the fact that the Mets need to beat this team. This is not the Marlins. Again, it's not like a sweep them and anything less is unacceptable. But looking at this lineup, there's not a lot of fear outside of Bo Bichette and Vlad Jr. And you know what? I'll even tip a cap to Anthony Santander because he's got the power. But everybody else is super manageable to get out in this lineup. Like this. If the Mets pitch like they have, I think we will be really okay. And then on the pitching side, I have zero faith in any of their pitchers. Gausman has been so up and down with his velocity. It depends what we get. If we get 95-mile-an-hour Gausman, he's going to pitch well. That's just how it is. But if he's throwing 90, 91 like he has in the past, the Mets are going to tank him. Chris Bassett pitches to contact. Bowden Francis, I guess it depends on the curveball, right? That was his big thing?
Yeah, the curveball for Bowden.
So, I don't know. Like, this is a team that I think these games might be close, but I expect the Mets to be winning this series very easily.
I want to shout George Springer. I know he's definitely not that good anymore, but he's opened the season blazing hot. He's just not swinging and missing very often. He's getting to the first power he's gotten to in a very long time. So that's something big for him. And with Bowden, it's the curveball that he scrapped, but now he's brought back a little bit. He went from the curveball to the splitter as primary pitch to end last season. That splitter is a very disgusting pitch, but he has come back throwing some curveballs this year. Again, it's only been one start. He threw 16 of them in like an 85 pitch start, so it's not something, but it's high fastballs and it's splitters ducking away. That's kind of the whole Bowden Francis thing. But he
Yeah.
does. That's a repertoire that can definitely get hit because he doesn't have tremendous command. He's someone that's kind of been on that reliever star of the line for a little while. Got a lot of helium just because of how dominant he was to end last season. But definitely 3 pitchers in this series you can hit. Bassett's just so steady Eddie, old reliable. He's going to throw you 10 different pitches. You're not going to know where they're going. It's not a very good team. It's definitely not a very bad team. It's a team that's going to hang around 500, just be in the mix and be there unless they wind up trading Vlad Guerrero Jr., possibly a future Met. Also a team with not a very exciting bullpen.
No.
There's a bullpen you very much should be able to get to. Yimi Garcia is awesome. Jeff Hoffman is quite good in the back, even though we got to him last year in the playoffs. But just get to these guys early, try to get with the relievers in one of those first games, and then just be able to stack up at bats against the back of that bullpen. That's how you win the series.
Yeah, they've been swinging the bats well. They have a bunch of guys hitting well right now, but again, I think it's early season. It's a small sample. Francisco Lindor has 1 hit, so it's like how much stock are we going to take, especially when there really haven't been many concrete changes to any of these guys' games besides the numbers looking good in 7 games.
Yeah, I don't think Miles Straw is going to have an 1100 OPS when the season's over.
If Miles Straw has an 1100 OPS when the season's over, I'll tattoo the name Straw on the back of my jersey. He's got to have a qualified season.
Nice. Qualified season, 1100
qualified
OPS.
Season. He's got to have the qualified at bats because if he gets hurt tomorrow or on Friday, he's going to finish with that, and that doesn't count. But if Miles Straw 500 plate appearances, has an 1100 OPS, I'll tattoo Straw on my back.
I'd definitely love to be on the other side of that bet. Also, if you guys were talking a lot of shit about the Mets hitting Brandon Nimmo fourth, Andres Gimenez marked out that before. Again, we all know him. I think Andres Gimenez deserves a cheer, not only for playing well as a Met, but for allowing us to get Francisco Lindor in this team. He deserves
Andres Gimenez is a good baseball player. Like there's no doubt that he is a good baseball player. I just don't think he is what he was being built up with at times.
Yes, but my point is that he is the 4-hitter in this team for people who people like to kind of pay attention to who the 4-hitters are in team. So that is something that you guys will be shocked by if you didn't know that when you see that box score in the ballpark on Friday.
What's their lineup? Is it Bichette, Springer,
Bo Vlad, Santander, Jimenez, Springer, Ernie Clement, a little baseball rat.
Your boy.
Then it's like platoons with like David Schneider and Nathan Lukes and Tyler Heidemann or Alejandro Kirk behind the plate, Miles Straw in center with Varsho out. Your boy Varsho.
My boy Varsho. Jose Siri better. We know that's the fact. And just for the draft nick Mark Brand, really need the Mets to take the series from the Blue Jays. I can't have
one for you.
The 6 hates me, so I need to make sure that we win.
6 does not like me either, which is kind of funny that's how it's weird Twitter rivalry. But I think that's all we got.
That's all we got for you guys. Remember.
I do have Frankie.
Yeah, we got to hear Frankie.
I forgot about Frankie.
Unfortunately, the Bolognese is 0-1 this year.
Yeah, it's all right. It's all right. Small sample size. Small sample size.
We're a sample size podcast.
Got Frankie.
Gentlemen, this is Frankie Pappas. How you doing? Despite that game, aging me all more than I am, hey, we get out of Miami, taken 2-3. We get a 500 road trip with 3-3. We're doing all right for what it's worth. Of course, the bats seem dead outside of 2 games, and for 5 of the 6 games, the teams looked pretty lifeless. But luckily, the big meat man, Polar Bear, Pete Alonso hitting dingers here in this last game to propel us to victory. He was all over this one. I think he's going to have an incredible year, and it's already shaping up that it's going to look like that. And of course, our captain Francisco Lindor getting on base for that 3-run homer that Pete hit. A little concerned, but not too concerned. It's only April. It sometimes takes him a moment to get started up. We know this. He's going to be just fine. I'm a little concerned for Vientos, a little concerned for Beatty. But our starting pitching looks great. Our bullpen, save for Mr. Young, looks great. And I can't wait for opening day. It's going to be wonderful. I can't wait to see Citi Field packed to the gills and people going crazy. All right, boys, I will talk to you after opening day. Let's go, Mets. And you're welcome over for dinner anytime you want. Just let me know, and I'll make something good for you. Thanks, boys.
Frankie Pappas. Frankie Pappas.
Frank let that one go for a while. Shout out Frankie. Shout out all you guys. Thank you so much for listening. Again, if anyone's going to be at the ballpark on Friday, hit us up, send us a message, tweet at us, tag us, anything you want. We're going to be making a couple videos, so hit us up if you want to be in those.
Yeah, subscribe to the Messed Up Podcast YouTube channel. Become a member if you want to see these episodes early. If you're listening to us, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, drop us a rating, drop us a review, download, and subscribe. You can follow James on Twitter or YouTube.
James Shiano,
You
YouTube,
can
baby.
follow me, Giraffe Neck Mark. Thank you guys for listening and watching. We will catch you all after the Blue Jay series. Or actually, we're going to have an episode before that. But yeah, we'll do something.
Yeah, proper after opening day. So we'll see you guys maybe Saturday for a weird episode.
Saturday,
but we'll be there.
whatever. Yeah, we'll see you when we see you. Peace out.
Peace out, guys. Let's go Mets.